Good day, dear colleagues. I'm very glad to see you. How is your mood? How it is going? How did you spend your week?
My good is quite good. Maybe awesome. And about how did I spend? I'm too boring to tell.
Mhm. Very bad, very bad. Maybe anybody want to say, Oleg? Хтось хоче ще щось сказати, колеги, як ви провели тиждень, як ваші відчуття, як настрій, будь-якою мовою, колеги? And now, we will talk about avant-garde. Avant-garde is a set of trends in literature of the first half 20th century as modernism. Avant-garde and modernism is in opposition. We say about these tendencies last lecture. The concept of avant-garde comes from military technology, meaning unit of troops moving in front of the main units, provoking the enemy and destabilizing his physiological comfort. The concept of avant-garde implies the lack of connection between creativity and reality, the rejection of stable, proven creative principles. Painful phenomena, psychological complex, were revealed in an absurd, hyperprotic, poetic form. Fluidity was divided into components, which were presented as a montage. The avant-garde introduced the technique of collage, aleatorics, scenarist, technicalism, graphicism, serialism. Avant-garde criticized ethnical norms, morals, ideals, universal values, recorded and phrases. This most important thing for avant-garde was to draw attention to their own person at any cost, to be in center of attention, to be a constant and obligatory object on conversation, gossip, intrigue, outright in the leading aesthetic principle of the avant-garde. Avant-garde abandoned this system. In addition to the traditional previous art, avant-garde was opposite to modern and avant-garde, including in modern era, and opposite to modernism, trends, and parties. Avant-garde, it denied intellectual nobility, aristocracy of spirit. Instead of modernism, sophistication, and elitism, avant-garde introduced the aesthetic of the streets, aesthetic of the streets, profanity, the depiction of gentries in literature, introduced the thesis of art of art and death of art in general. Do you understand me? Ми говоримо про смерть мистецтва. Died of art. The avant-garde reconciled authority, values, behaved openly, aggressively, and unpleasantly, demonstratively adversated amoralism, tried to arouse the crowd and encourage it to scandal and hooliganism. Avant-garde and aggression are the leading features of avant-garde works. Avant-garde included Fauvism, Futurism, Cubofuturism in Ukrainian literature is a version of Futurism. In Ukrainian literature, we have Cubofuturism. Imaginism, Surrealism, Abstractionism, Expressionism, Dadaism, Cubism, Constructivism, Unanimism. In the works of avant-garde, the writers can be traced aesthetic provocation, destabilization of the reader's psychological content, lack of creativity connection, those with reality, categorical rejection of classical creative principles. However, imperceptible knowledge and mystery of classical technique. For example, collage, using collage. The transformation of genre, transformation phonetics, semantics, and synthesis. Collage technique, aleatories, sonorist, technicalism, graphicism, serialism. Critic of ethnic, critic of morals, critic of ideals, and universal values. We said about a constant that avant-garde fixing the crisis of art. Image of disease, psychological complex, absurd, installation, avoidance of stability, absolute chaos, destruction as art game. Programmed scandal, attraction, attention at any cost, outrage, genial of aristocracy of spirit, aesthetic of street, profanity, tevis, dove of art. Denial of authority, aggression, trouble, scandal, hooliganism, the desire to move into the plane of politics and life, acute conflict, glorification of urban comfort, achievements of modern technical process, incomprehensibility, quasi-aesthetic object, quasi-aesthetic situation, authoritarianism. Avant-garde is an artistic reaction to the technical achievements of the first half 20th century and historical events of this period. Avant-garde were instinctively and almost reflected in the words conditionally unite the 30 years of the 20th century before two World War. Do you know that in 30 years in Germany was had the country representativities from fascism? Do you know about it? And this is date 30 years 20th century. And this is current 20th century, before 20th century, want influence in the situation in the world. This is directs the trends and styles, critics, war, critics, fascism. Fauvism is the avant-garde trends all in the French painting of the beginning 20th century. We have manifest Marinetti, excuse me, futurism, excuse me, futurism. Futurism is a current. Futurism is a current of avant-garde, and this is current creativity in Italy in 1909 as a reaction to scientific and technological progress. Futurists celebrate height, speed in which they discover the romance of feeling. Futurists denied the universal eternal values, tried to think in terms of the future. We should be free from provisional traditions. Futurists consider traditions superfluous because they burden the artist with frivolous experience which is not needed. They created poetry based on the latest interventions of science. Dehumanization, de-aestheticization, attention to things, the attempt to combine intuitionism and positivism were reflected in the creative manifesto. Dehumanization is terminal, is central, characterized for futurism. A dehumanization in futurism revealed in weakness of the individual to social system. Personality is forced to hide behind individually invented phonetic and visual means, which most are enabled to understand. Futurism originates in Italian poetry, in the Milan group of artists whose aesthetic principles were formed. For example, Marinetti is the manifesto of futurism, 1990. Of the opinion futurism, poet had to go beyond logic, traditional syntaxes, language, familiar phonetics, clear vocabulary. Futurism in Italy began to some extent the ideological basis of fascism in its calls to destroy librettists and museums and interpreted to the world as hydras, in which the weak disappeared. Colleagues, do you understand me? I explained.
Yes, yeah.
Я говорила, що більшість тенденцій авангарду протиставляються війні. Першій світовій війні, Другій світовій війні. Футуризм є виключенням. Футуризм оспівує війну як гігієну, як очищення. Це виключення. Це зрозуміло, колеги? Питання є у вас?
Немає.
Немає.
And we are continuing. I propose to say about ideal of futurism, which an or car and motorcycle who raced in high speed to learn the emotional infile and drive from gender and risk matters. The outside of the futurism was revealed not only in the scandalous type of behavior, but also in the creation of a mechanization ideal of man, of personality. The futurist is deformation of word, house. They desire to dynamic movement, increasing the urban place of life, open the prospect of works of art on the verge of art. Poetry, euromalarism, simultaneity. The poetry of futurism is characterized by sound imitation, destruction of the plot, destruction synthesis. The futurism have a desire for novelty was dominant. Novelty was found in the urban tempo, sound, rhythm. Do you see the presentation? Next presentation. Do you see? Colleague?
Yes, yeah.
Mhm. The representativities from futurism is Marinetti in Italy, Boccini, Russolo, Severini, Balla, Cara, Cora, Settimelli, Buzzi, Folgore, Palazzeschi, Lucchini, Boboni. From Poland. Ясенський, Штерн, Кшишевський, Словаччина, Словакія. Смерк, Грушовський, Румунія. Мікулеску, Аргезі, Влада. And also I said about Cuban futurism. Cuban futurism is a poetry on the border, painting and literature. Cuban futurism revealed in Ukrainian literature in the works of Semenko in his collection Поезомалярство. Also, we can say that Cuban futurism revealed in French poet Paul Éluard. Do you have a question? Next terms which we have a discussion is Dadaism. Dadaism. Dadaism is a current in avant-garde poetry that developed in French-speaking and German-speaking Swiss literature and eventually spent in France. Dadaism last from 1940 to 1924. Swiss Dadaist differs in Zurich in the artist cabaret Voltaire. The term Dadaism comes from the ambiguous words Dada, word Dada. Dada have meaning. First, the tale of scarlet comb in the language in the Negro Peru tribe. Second means, Dada is a nurse in Italian dialects. 3. Dada is a children wooden horse. 4th sense, Dada is a babbling baby. Nonsense in a leading aesthetic future of Dadaism and can be explained by a metaphorical protest against war. We said about this tendency today. Aesthetic protest against war. This is very important. And also, they opposed murder, blood, violence. Chronologically, Dadaism originated during the First World War. In this period in history was a grand mass senseless bloodshed. Conceptuality, Dadaism reflected anarchism, the denial of positivism, the departure from philosophicism, and the approach to communist movements and ideas. Apart from protesting against the First World War, Dadaism does not accept generally accepted moral norms, classical traditions, logical argument, social hierarchy, and state structures, political ideologies, dictatorship, authoritarianism, reactionary, excuse me. And opposite the language system. Dadaism abandoned language is literature, a paradox on the one hand, and on the other hand, have two opportunity to create a new, according to avant-garde principle. The new in language, no one and never understood, sometimes even the author himself. Dadaists were among the first in the world to try to disprove the concept of Eurocentrism and language resembles foreign, African, and indigenous. The Dadaists flourished onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is phonetic reconstruction. This special poetry form took place outside the language. It was synoptic creation, synoptic recitation, a certain rhythm, intonation, accent of meaning was of great importance to them. In poetry, no association, for example, Buddhist poet transmitted the sound of the city, the movement of trams, the movement of cars, incompletable planes were depicted. In contrast to the technical movement, art was transformed static of nature, field, forest. In this songs revealed in the world, devoid of traditional reverse verbs and landscapes. Dadaists accepted modernity, tried to enter it harmoniously. They did not oppose technical achievements. Aesthetically, Dadaists did not accept expressionism, which they tried to refute and deny. After the First World War, the Dadaism were divided into political and absolute. Surrealism, which broadened this technique, automatic Dadaism.
Yes.
Representativities of futurism, Switzerland, Sarah, Arn, Ban, Yanko. From France, Edouard, Soupeau, Reverdy, Breton, Raymond Dessay, Aragon. Germany, Gusenberg, Marin, Gross, Gaussman, Piscator, Garfield. And next trend that I propose for you is surrealism. Surrealism is trend of avant-garde. Surrealism was formed in literature, France, and in other countries in 1920s years, and over time developed in other arts. Surrealism was formed in literature, and after that in other arts. For example, cinema, theater, drama, sculpture, painting. In theoretical terms, the term surrealism was introduced by French writer Apollinaire. Apollinaire introduced this term. Apollinaire, in accordance with avant-garde trade ideas, sought to oppose the traditional realistic concept, which was in the early 20th century in crisis. Surrealism was given the function of new realism, but these tendencies originated from the Romantic, Baroque poetry. Surrealism was consistently of Bergson's and Bergson's philosophy of irrationalism and Freud's psychoanalysis, and also archetype of Jung had realization in surrealism. This was unicell artistic image and unfamiliar, shocking picture of the world. The picture of the world is formed around the image of the subconscious, psychological complex, childhood trauma, interpersonal conflict, which looked like individual vital things or pose. This is the same keys which revealed in the technique of chance, disillusions, dreams, the revealed state, and another things. The technique of automatic writing was based on a deep knowledge of a classical literature tradition, which was fragments into the experimental world, and at the same time this knowledge showed in complex, in surrealism. The surrealism characterized the poetic of the flow vision. In the Manifesto Surrealism of 1924, Breton tries to find the origins of surrealism in the previous literature of the Renaissance and Englishment, the Decadence era, and emphasizes the strong influence of avant-garde Dadaism on the aesthetic of surrealism. Using the ideas of unconscious, and psychological complex formed by Freudianism, surrealism sought to painter deeply into the psyche of the hero at the level of dreams, delusions, memories, association, to reveal the essence of life, those the subconscious. The goal of surrealism was to establish communication with the recipient, to attract attention to intense life, to try to change and improve it, heal it, pointing on existence of psychological problems on the individual to overcome that. Surrealists create a new art world when they combine things that, at first glance, cannot be combined. This is done through the uncontrolled depiction of the heroes, though in literature. In this situation are developed all the limitation of reason, morality, ethic. It is the subconscious that the mystical is revealed, which is the true being. Surrealists believed in the highest reality contained in the association of a writer or a hero. In this highest reality, they are dreaming becomes omnipotent as is demonstrated the play of human thoughts. The destruction of the surrealism is aimed at ethnical norms that are refuted, life's problems that are covered outside the moral canon. Representativities from surrealists. In French, Apollinaire, Breton, Éluard, Soupeau, Cocteau, Artaud, Quenon, Péris, Bataille, Vitrat, Ernst, Besson. Great Britain, England. Bacon, Mu, Serbia. Давичо, Рестів, Тейки. Слово. Поважан, Бакош, Рейсел, Фарби. Also, we can say that surrealism realized not only European country, but also in creativities of writers from Latin America, Japan, and in United States, USA. Next current about we say is extractionism. Extractionism is a current of avant-garde art that categorically abandoned the image of the objective environment. Representatives of extractionism understood arts as a necessary distancing from reality. And this is distance contribute to the emergence of image of unusual forms and different colors to comprehended and existential and ontological. The aesthetical of abstractionism is extra-objective, is the artist's self-realization in the depiction of the combination of sports, lines, shapes, figures, and this is the object of arts are given both autonomy and new meaning, new sense in a set of unusual shapes and colors. Colors was a main construct in abstractionism. Purpose of the activity and creativity abstractionism was influence in the recipient. Art does not have to depend in objective reality. The origins of abstractionism originate in the philosophy of Nietzsche, Bergson, and Schopenhauer. Also, we have the influence in Freud's psychoanalytic concept in abstractionism, also be traced. Dynamic poetry, architecture, color, color for color. This was tendencies reveal the essence of aesthetic of abstractionism. Abstractionism was formed in painting 1910-1920. And attention of representativities was on geometric shapes on the cone, triangles, cylinders, shapes. Under the influence of a new angle of view on geometric figures, an abstract neoplasticism is formed, and this reflects the idea of plastic mathematics. Geometry is revealed those mysticism. This is makes to possibility to be free in the artist form objective reality. We see the reform on the palette can be traced in the rejection of natural colors. And very important in abstractionism was the rethinking of the phenomenon of beauty. Beauty departs from the spirit, and beauty focuses around the dot, around the point. In literature, abstractionism was revealed as a creativity technique in the automatic manner of writing. And we have nose versification in the doubling and trilling of consonants, and negate versification in the actualization of vowels. For example, repetition of vowels. And when we said about nose versification, we understand in the doubling and tripling of consonant. Do you understand me, Paulette?
Yes, we understand.
Я говорила про шумову версифікацію і про легатну версифікацію. Ви зрозуміли, що це таке? В письмі.
Так, зрозуміли.
Так. Шумова версифікація – це подвоєння, потроєння приголосних, а легатна – повторення голосних. Так, колеги? Тобто ви порушаєте граматику, ви порушуєте орфографію, коли ви пишете слово. В слові ви можете писати стільки голосних, скільки хочете, і приголосних, скільки хочете на свій розсуд. Розумієте, як це? Зараз це теж ми простежимо в смс-ках, коли смс-ки пишемо, так чи ні? Коли?
Так, іноді просліджуємо це.
Тобто витоки, от цього ми з вами беремо ще на початку ХХ століття в мистецтві. Все, що зараз у нас є в масовій культурі, все, що є в побуті, колись було сформовано в мистецтві і потім поширилося на всю реальність. Це зрозуміло?
Так.
Good. Representativities in the literature is Palaczewski and Lotte. Next trends about we call the discussion is expressionism. Expressionism is an avant-garde trend that emerged in German-speaking arts of Austria and Germany. Do you hear I used the term German-speaking, French-speaking, Anglo-speaking? Do you understand what is it? The terms German-speaking, what is it? Explain it, please. Колеги, repeat, please, Артем.
Окей. I guess, я вважаю, що ось German speaking arts це написані німецькою.
Правильно, але не в Німеччині, да? Тобто, от коли ми пишемо в Україні англійською, це називається англо-спікінг, англофонія. Ми можемо це сказати як англофонія, франкофонія, германофонія. Тобто фонія – це значить, що не рідне підґрунтя мови. В Канаді ми говоримо про англофонію, English speaking, French speaking. В Австралії у нас English speaking, да? В Швейцарії також у нас, і в Австрії у нас також German speaking, да? Розумієте? Тобто це трошечки інше, да? Або Ukrainian speaking, we can also say about this in territory of Canada or Brazil, да? Ukrainian speaking, українофонія на території Бразилії, на території Канади, на території USA, так, колеги? Там же ж українська не така, як у нас, правильно? Розумієте? Що таке фонія? Фон. Добре. Expressionism. Here, German-speaking arts of Austria and Germany. Expressionism was opposed to the philosophy of positivism, the art of the decadence era, naturalism, decadence, and impressionism, poetry of modernism, symbolism, critically preserved the romanticism of the 18th and 19th century, also the realism of the second half 19th century. The central leading for the expressionism was the problem of style. The aesthetic of expressionism developed in the technique of painting. We said about technique of painting in поезомалярство. Yes, today. And only then influence in literature. On aesthetic expressionism influence technique of painting. The artist realized himself when he portrayed this own individual world in terms of the prevalence of intuition. Creative spirit is very important and even important compared to the surrounding realities. The aesthetic of expression was influenced by the philosophy of intuitionism of Bergson. Expressionism was a creativity reaction to the First World War. And very important to say that attention to the irrational elements of the Turn-time, the concept of philosophy of life, mystical openness were the answer to the causes by the world, the absurdity of life, the prediction of collapse, appearance to the apocalypse of reality, like result World War. And they propose, rethink, established logocentrism, and this is understanding the disappearance of harmony in the world was caused anxiety among else. Fear, existential fear of, in French literary existentialism in the 1930s and 1940s have their origin in German expressionism. And their way out for overcoming fear in art. Expressionist artists consciously distance themselves from nature. And they image heightened psychological and psychical fatigue of the hero, the fixation of the individual impression on his irrational factors, asymmetry, opposition, disharmony reveal the expression of the hero in art. The main feature is nervousness, explosions of pain shocked the reader. The heroes are revealed depending on the conflict. A person cannot show his will in circumstance beyond his control. The individual, the personality is opposed to the world. And this personality is ambiguous. The special conflict of parents and children on emotional breakdown cause outrage, low style, grotesque, and vulgarist created in emotional moods. Escalations, association, attraction of dream, neologism, illusions, irony become socially reaction, and they called for active influence on change in the social system. Representativeness is in German Brecht, Kaiser, Barlow, Becker, Toller, Schmidt, Mann, Britten, Wassermann. Austria. Trakel, Gein, Werther, Kafka, Meyer. Belgium. Ostein. Italy. Pirandello. Czech Republic. Nezval, Frey, Gonzel, Burian. Хорватія. Шов, Студент. Польща. Шепішевський, Веспенський. Hungary. Каша, USA. O'Neill. And next, current is unanimism. Unanimism is avant-garde current that originates in French literature. Unanimism was opposed to symbolism and artistic tendency to stylistic clarity, which led to simplification of style. The writers were socially educated, introduced a mystical cult of unanimity, offered to continue the philosophical ideas Rousseau. The ideas of unity, personality, and nature. Of all peoples and nations were expressed in social terms, which were reflected in the works of unanimism. In their aesthetic, unanimists combined the features of Durkheim, sociological conception, American pragmatism, and Zola naturalism, Bergson intuitionism, and the artistic technique, Whitman, and Verhaeren. The foundation of unanimism was Roman. Representativities in France, Romain, Vildra, Duhamel, Arcos, Chenevière, Joux, Durkheim. And next, current is Cubism. Cubism is avant-garde current in early French painting in the beginning 20th century. In literary, the Cubism realized life represented by combination of fragments of dialogue, phrases that could be heard on the street and introduced into the text. The influence of Cubism on literature can be traced at the level of simplification of writing. The division of the text of discussions and Cubism influence in the level of the writing. This is fragment of details, discussions, dialogue, situation in the creativity work, in the fiction. the situation with everyday ordinary details, involvement of banal expression personality in the different situations which take place in the street, is poetics from street. Do you understand me? Поетика вулиці, да? And representativities, please fix for you in literature is Apollinaire, Jacob, Reverdy, Sandar, Vege. Do you have a question for it? And now I propose continue. Last time we were in the avant-garde and we stopped in the trend constructivism. Do you remember? Do you see the presentation?
Yes, yes.
Constructivism is an avant-garde trend in architecture, and it emerged in the early 20th century. The first architectural building of constructivism in Europe is considered to be Gazprom. This is in Ukraine, this is in Kharkiv, in our native town. Do you understand me, Oleg?
Yes.
And for us, this is very important. How do you think? We are first representativities in Europe in the world of constructivism. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes.
And constructivism was formed under the influence of technological and scientific development, which activated the prosperity of individualization process. It should be noted that in addition to Western influence, constructivism has expressed Eastern trend from traditional Japanese culture. Japanese culture of minimalism, influence on structuralism, have originated over time. The aesthetic of constructivism is conditioned by intellectual independence, mathematical rationality, economy, economic productivity, logical calculation, laconic artist technique, appropriate civilization, utilitarianism, simplificationism, popular indelibility. Constructivism sought to absolute art as a cultural phenomenon and genre. They believed that functions of the artist can be performed by any specialized. In architecture, in engineering, and for music, literature, painting, it is appropriate to our technological standards. Technological standards intersection in different art. The sentiments of new business were traced in German literature. In literature, constructivism was defined as a set of rules the writers had to follow in process of creation. These requirements include organization of things by meaning, calculation of semantic load per unit of literature material, the introduction of prose into poetry, intersection poetry in prose. Representativities of constructivism in literature defined themselves not as writer or poet, but they was constructor, and this is constructor preserved their text as construct. Do you understand?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Aesthetic principles were transformed into technology of form. Creative problems in the text were equal to ideology. Special reflection of technical process in writing. However, these criteria were interdependent only in public declaration. Artistic and ideological equivalence, editation in poetry, information of semantic dominance. Semantic dominance is achieved by compaction or reorganization of the word in order to form the maximum lot of to talking of neological form of words, neologism. Constructivism in literature founded pointless poetry. Pointless poetry. Pointless poetry is the local method, and this method was realized which built the theme from the meaning, from conscience. It resembled artist article from encyclopedic dictionaries. The song was directed as a geometric plan in order to deprive the poem of materiality, and this is look like a system of graphic symbols or system scenes. In prose, this process was a gap in values. Or also we can see the economic terms, inflation of words, because in the plot of work was clear and concise. This work was without aesthetic extras, and in later used technique of phonetic writing of words along this traditional grammar. Scientific, statistical, ethnographical, different facts were introduced into works of art, into novel. And the range of ideal unfolded as a rejection of forward. We can explain this situation across strategy for the individual. Europeanism, Americanism, disappointment of intellectuals with reality. Certificate those duty. Constructivism agreed with futurism over the role of poetry and the mission of art. And also, he proposed did construction like creative style. Do you have a question, colleague? Do you hear me?
Yep.
No.
Do you have a question? Я говорила про специфічне письмо, яке виглядає як інженерія в художньому тексті. Ви це зрозуміли?
Yes.
Very good, very good. And representativities of constructivism. In cinema, do you know this is representativities? Chaplin, do you hear this name?
Yes.
Of course, yes.
Because it's
Very
famous.
good. In architecture, we have Corbusier. In theater, Leopold. And we have constructivism in literature across theater, across drama. And separate metaphor, separate trope in the text. And now I propose conclusion. Modern is a mood of the 20th century. In modern includes decadence, modernism, avant-garde, postmodernism. Modern breaks this tradition and modern creates new art. This is, do you understand?
Yes.
Yes.
Modernism is a set of the trends, direction, currents, techniques, styles, also phenomenon, first half 20th century. And in modernism is including symbolism, imagism, stream of conscience, Freudianism, existentialism, magical realism, and we speak about create a new in the semantic and syntax. I said about this. Do you remember? Create new in syntaxes, in semantic, in form and in sense. Yes? Paul?
Yes. I remember.
Avant-gardism is a collection of trends, direction, currents of the first half 20th century. In avant-gardism, including Fauvism, Futurism, Imaginism, Surrealism, Abstractionism, Dadaism, Cubism, Constructivism, and they want to create new in the semantic, syntaxes, and pragmatic. Pragmatic is main aspect for differentiation. Do you understand? Modernism have not pragmatic, avant-garde have pragmatic. Excuse me, modernism has not pragmatic, avant-garde has pragmatic. Do you understand?
Yes.
Мгм. Symbolism is a direction, is a trance of modernism. The symbol as an artistic image and specific means to discover transcendent, eternal beauty and femininity. Imaginism is a current of modernism, musical representation of the subject, the image in the imperfection of an emotional, intellectual, an attempt to restore supra-religions and supra-personal values. Stream of conscience is a technique of modernism, fluidity of human conscience. Realized in a stream of conscience is realizing fluidity of human conscience. Freudianism is a method of modernism which is revealing the morbid subconscious of the heroes, cohabitation of sexuality forbidden for the church. Magic realism is phenomenon in literature. Magic realism, not a current, not a trend. This is phenomenon. Do you understand? Colin?
Yeah.
Mhm. Why? Why? This is not trends and not currents. Why? Explain this. Colin? What difference between trends, current and phenomenon? Колеги, поясніть, будь ласка, в чому різниця між феноменом, течією та напрямом? Будь-якою мовою. Артеме, прошу. Turn off the camera, please.
Добре, вибачте. Так. Тренд, щодо напрямів, це дуже значна, це дуже значний обсяг авторів та поглядів. Щодо тренд, вибачте, я забув ще.
Дивіться, тренд – це напрям, current – це течія, directions – це теж напрям, це синоніми. Directs and trends – це синоніми. Також trends може бути синонімом tendencies. Тенденції. Тобто в англійській мові ми тренд можемо називати напрям і можемо називати тенденції. Да? Ви в моді, мабуть, часто чуєте це слово тренд, да? Коли?
Так.
Угу. Так.
Так ось, течія, я щодо течії казав зараз, це дуже значна за обсягом авторів та поглядів.
Течія менша, ніж напрям. Да? Напрям більше, ніж течія. Колеги, отут, будь ласка, увага і зафіксуйте собі, щоб у вас в голові все стало на місця. Добре? Це важливо.
Так, добре.
Угу. Якщо хтось має питання, окрім Артема, хто хоче висловитися, то, будь ласка, прошу вас. Артеме, так чим же ж відрізняється феномен від течії та від напряму? Я сказала, що magic realism is a phenomenon.
Я вважаю, що у обсязі і авторів та усього іншого, як я вважаю.
Колеги, у кого ще є свої думки? Колеги? Прошу, Настя. Turn on the camera, please.
Yes. It seems to, мені здається, що течія – це найбільше, ну, тобто, як казав Артем, там дуже багато авторів різних, напрям вже більш таке специфічне, а феномена – це прям зовсім, що виділяється, скажімо так, із течії, тобто, можливо, трохи не характерне для неї, і, тобто, може виділятися і із напряму, і із течії щось таке, як незвичне, можливо, для цього напряму, якась яскравий такий елемент.
Так, Настя, дивіться, течія менше, ніж напрям. Помітьте собі, ми щойно це говорили. За кількістю представників вона менше представників має, вона вища, ніж напрям. Течія, так? Так. У кого ще є варіанти, коли? Колеги, ви пам'ятаєте, я говорила, що напрям має початок і фінал, що він обмежений в часі, так само, як і течія. Has beginning and end. Розумієте? А феномен вічний. Він в часі не обмежений. Він простежується у ході історії літератури, у ході еволюції літератури. І якщо ми з вами говоримо про magical realism, ви пам'ятаєте, от я вам наводила приклади, може ви читали Маркеса, може ви читали Гоголя. Знаєте таке, як Гоголь? Да?
Так.
Так, Гоголь був в 19 столітті, і він поєднав потойбічне та земне. Ось що таке магічний реалізм. Це коли поєднується потойбічне та земне. Да? Коли? І це ж саме є поєднання потойбічного та земного у Гомері в 7 столітті до нашої ери. Так чи ні, колеги? Там же ж у нас є боги, які впливають на ситуацію. Так чи ні? У Гомері є? І воно ще простежується у ході історії. Небагато цих представників, але вони є. Тобто феномен – це те, що в часі триває довго. І зараз теж ми можемо знаходити риси магічного реалізму. Зрозуміло, коли?
Так.
Дуже добре. Помітьте собі це, будь ласка. Добре? And in phenomenal realism revealed in the period of Romanticism, Modernism, Postmodernism, and also we can see intersection of magical dimensions with everyday life. Existentialism, we will talk about existentialism a few minutes, about 5 minutes today. We will talk about existentialism. And Fauvism is courage of avant-garde. Fauvism is discovery of the savagery of African, Indian culture. And is brightness of a sense. Futurism is trend, is current. I think this is trend. I think this is trend. Futurism is trend of avant-garde. In futurism, the author is globalification of science and scientific and technical progress. Also, he used epitaph. Futurism is a current of avant-garde in the Ukrainian national background. Dadaism is a current of avant-garde, the aesthetic of nonsense and incomprehensibility. Surrealism is the trend of avant-garde. This is an erotic image depicting of subconscious, realized psychological trauma, children's complex, fears, also aggressive establishment of communication between the artist and the recipient. Abstractionism is trend of avant-garde, rejection of real image of geometric shapes, reinterpretation of beauty. Expressionism is the trend of avant-garde, intuitive, infantile children's aesthetic based on Eastern and African culture. Mysticalness, existential antiquity. Unanimism is a current of avant-garde. The idea of unity of personality and nature, unity of all people and nations, denial of war and murder. Cubism is a current of avant-garde. The ontological nature of being in geometric figures, symbol of forms, entirely simple phrases, in language is of the street, simplification of writing, simultaneism. Constructivism is trend of avant-garde, industriality, intelligibility, simplification, utilitarianism, denial of the phenomenon of art, locality technically, phonetic reports, constructions. And also, I think very important to say about the influence of aesthetic trends on the future literature. How do you think? This is important. Or we can begin speaking about existentialism. And after that, after existentialism, we can speak about influence.
No, that is our.
There are no questions.
And next week we have a last lecture, and after we have a seminar. Yes? А через тиждень у нас будуть семінари. Наступна лекція у нас остання, і потім починаємо семінари. Добре? У вас питання є по семінарським заняттям? Колеги?
Немає.
Добре.
Немає.
Добре, колеги. Я була дуже рада вас бачити. Хвилиночку. Зараз у нас 21. Тоді від вас чекаю в списку. Добре? Було приємно вас бачити. До зустрічі. Всього найкращого.
До
побачення.
До зустрічі.
До побачення.
До побачення.
До побачення.